Well, off camera, I was just talking with Krishna, the CEO of SiMa, about how this has been nearly 3 years in the making. So, oftentimes, I share with the audience how excited I am, and I truly have never been more excited. We've been chasing each other for 3 years on this. So, welcome finally to the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Justin. Thank you.
Well, absolutely. You know our audience well. It's a technical audience made up of not only engineers, executives, and founders, all within the technical community, and even investors who consider themselves technical. And so, you know what, I would love for you to be able to tell a little bit about what if there was a moment in your life or career where you said, I'm going to be an engineer.
um, Actually, I think I remember about 11 years old, and I grew up in Bangalore in India, and television was being introduced in India. And I remember watching, and one of the first clips I saw was JFK's speech of "We choose to go to the moon." And I remember that moment vividly, and I was like, wow, I think that is an amazing thing to go be able to do. And it seemed so far fetched, so complicated that you could do that. And I fell in love with engineering since then. So
Well, the industry's happy that you did. Thank you, JFK.
I had to Planet thanks you for a lot more than helping me.
Well, you've since you decided to become an engineer, you've gone through multiple world class organizations, Cypress, Altera, Xilinx, and you became COO of Groq. What was a turning point in your career that drew you into the world of startups?
Good question. I have to confess, I don't think I woke up one day and said I need to start a company. I seemed very comfortable being in large public companies, and then obviously I think in my head I was doing well. Two or three things really came around. Is one is I really saw physical AI and the opportunity in the landscape. And I also saw the challenges for incumbent edge players to really be able to transition into an AI centric world. And I wanted to do something about it. And throughout my career, I spent most of my time on the edge and really understanding the dynamics, the customer challenges, the friction points. And I saw AI really bring in a huge surge of possibilities. We are living through cloud AI today. In my head, it was really clear that AI impacting human lives would be a big deal. There are personal reasons too, but I honestly thought that this is an extremely unsolved problem. And maybe AI's biggest impact is going to be around human beings and in everything that touches our lives, whether it's mobility in cars or robotics or industrial automation or medical, which is a subject I'm very passionate about. I wanted to build a company that would front and central focus on that. So I wouldn't say I woke up and I had a fantastic pivotal moment or a Buddha sitting under a tree and hitting enlightenment, but it seemed dead obvious that it's a problem to be solved, and I said, why not?
Well, can you tell us a little bit more about how you view AI impacting the medical world, since that's something near and dear to my heart, and the reason why I turned most of our company's attention to AI was because of my 5.5-year-old son's disabilities. So, can you tell us a little bit about that for you?
Sure. So we have many medical challenges in our family, and I'll not go too deep into our challenges, but that's been a large motivation for me to combine AI and medical too. So there's been motivations on my side, but I believe AI's largest impact is going to be in medicine. Truly believe that. To broaden it out, biology, right? And so the way we go about medication, prescriptive medicine, this isn't far away. 10 years from now, it's very possible that you would be getting prescriptive medicine exactly built for your genome, and that you would get exactly what you need to help you with any challenge you may have and change your quality of life without side effects. So today you have generic drugs that are broadly solving for a category of problems. You're really going to become more prescriptive around it. There are ethic issues to be resolved, and I'm not smart enough to really work through the ethics portion of it. We have a government, we have FDA, we have plenty of bodies to work through the ethics portion of it. But the opportunity to really change our lifestyle and really get ahead of our challenges is entirely possible now with AI. And I think that's huge. And but along the way, very tangible things. I mean, I've been studying diabetic neuropathy, with a lot of patients in India, and access to technology has been a privy of the rich. With AI, you're going to see a massive democratization where mobile units could really come to you. So instead of you going to a doctor, doctors can come to you. And we've been talking about telemedicine for a long time, but the true capacity to provide localized health, you'll always have a human in the loop, but you could have a lot of devices around you that monitor basic health, women's health, proactive blood care. And so you don't need, if you will, to be rich to get access to what traditionally has been the privilege of the rich to get good proactive healthcare. So I think AI is a massive enabler of shifting from reactive medicine care to proactive medicine care for all 8 billion. So to me, subject I'm also very passionate about. And I grew up in a geography which used to be pretty poor, and obviously the middle class in India is doing phenomenally well. But the needs of all of these people are now going to be democratized with AI, and I think this may be the biggest impact AI has to human beings. And clearly, it may help longevity, but more importantly, it'll change the quality of life as we know it.
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why it's been so long that I've been chasing this discussion. Is your heart? It's not only I'm hearing from you. It's not only the responsible or the democratization of AI, which you know is very near and dear to me, but the reason behind it is the democratization of medicine and healthcare and really evening the playing field. So
Yeah, no, I think I'm super excited about that. I mean, yes, we'll get through mundane things initially just to prove out, if you will, the on ramp. But already AI is making a huge change, whether it's in early mammograms or radiology. And so it's beginning to make its way in terms of AI with the human in the loop. But I think that's a super exciting journey on biology and medicine and longevity.
can you talk about a customer success or a pilot deployment in the early days of SEMA that confirmed that you and your team were on the right track?
Oh, there are so many good proof points. And I'm happy that there are so many proof points. No, it's I've been in large public companies, and to a large degree, you have hysteresis in that it's pretty hard to build a brand new architecture and innovate at the pace of a startup in a big company. But also, it's pretty hard to screw up. You have this hysteresis that both sometimes prevents you from innovating, but also prevents you from screwing up. At a startup, there is no hysteresis. You have a live wire act every day, and every choice you make is either addition of do or die. So that is a really interesting dynamic. So you may have a fantasy of, oh, I built the greatest architecture, and I'm going to solve for world hunger. But the practical limit of a customer saying, well, it may not be the case, is pretty humiliating and pretty destructive to a startup. So go back to answering your question in a succinct way. So we picked a vertical use case lighthouse customer. We picked one in aerospace and defense. We picked one in industrial automation. We picked one in robotics. We picked one in automotive. And so we said, let's learn with these customers. Luckily, they were very patient to work with the startup. Clearly, the value proposition of what we brought was exciting to them, but no doubts we iterated our product, iterated our solution around it. And I'm glad after 7 years that we have built something that the world's really excited about. And so all these initial use cases validated for us that we could solve our problem. And we are taking a very different approach than many public companies and also many private companies. We needed that validation to make sure, okay, we're building something the planet cares about.
Well, you highlighted some of those the autonomous vehicles, robotics, drones are all key factors for physical AI. Why, and this is something you touched on at the AI Infra Summit last year. Why are you so bullish on these applications, and what makes embedding useful intelligence on them so challenging?
Sure. So, really good question. It's almost two very different questions in my mind. I look at where we are in that the economic capability of human beings is increasing, right? So the middle class is really rising, our affordability is increasing. But at the same token, access to technical labor is weakening. And so every country, and this is not a geopolitical commentary, but it's just an observation that everybody is now wanting to bring back self-sustenance and manufacturing onshore, right? The US is doing the same, Europe's off its way, India is doing the same, China is doing the same. So the only way you're going to take an economically rich society that has a technical labor shortage and close that gap on productivity and manufacturing is really by investing heavily in AI. The planet has no choice, and that's the only way to bridge it. I don't think everybody wants manufacturing in the US, but I don't think anybody wants to work for $5 per hour, right? So somebody's got to solve this problem, right? The only meaningful way to do it and also keep yourself market competitive and productive is through automation. And AI is a fantastic enabler to bridge that gap. So you're going to see, I think, a groundswell of manufacturing. And so this is why physical AI is now becoming topic du jour across the board, whether it's in robotics, whether it's in industrial automation, or the medical sector we talked about, or in mobility like automotive or autonomous vehicles in general. So these are all things that I think bridge the gap between the desire to get manufacturing and the affordability, and the gap between technical skills and labor.
Well, and so as kind of a follow-on, AI today is really largely driven by the evolution of models. How are you guys? How is SEMA addressing the ever-growing complexity of models to make the lives of customers and developers easier?
Wow, you are definitely a student of this landscape. And that is the key question because as I started the company, what was clear to me was AI is going to be from a software model evolution, a cadence of once every 6 months. You're going to be really shifting the landscape quite a bit. But silicon, as you know, takes a 2.5, 3 year cadence to be able to shift. And so the two worlds are in many ways disconnected, and it's entirely possible you'll always be shooting behind the duck. And so we give a lot of thought to saying, okay, so how do we build a platform that could be concurrent with the pace at which software can be done? So I mean, we have this phrase called performance at the pace of silicon, right? So how do we really deliver AI world class models? And so if you look at our evolution, our architecture is really, so we chose an architecture primarily software centric, and we have publicly stated that we think of ourselves more as a software company than a silicon company. And so that's really critical because no way you could innovate in silicon alone and keep pace with AI. You need a very software centric approach. So we pushed every problem that we traditionally would have done in silicon into software as long as we could justify the performance power trade off. What it allowed us to do is keep pace with the market evolution. So we started with CNNs 5 years ago. Then they kind of became vanilla, and then it moved to a transformer based architecture world. Then that became kind of vanilla, and reasoning models took over. And then we went through an alphabet soup of LLMs, SLMs, PLAs. We're still going through that. What I promise you is that I think reasoning based architectures are here to stay as a foundation, just because it's the closest proxy to being efficient about compute and mimic human-like capacity. The alphabet soup of what we call and the variances, that's going to change every day. So good news is, given our software-centric approach, we are able to run all of this at the best performance and power efficiency compared to anybody else, whether it's large GPU companies or ML startups along the way. And many of them really are stuck with silicon that is not performant to the pace at which the market's moving. And so that's something we gave a lot of thought to. And velocity is something that you really need architecturally built in.
So one of the things that I've really admired following SEMA from a distance for a while is that you're not just scaling to sell more hardware. and you really built the company on a principled approach to building the ecosystem as a whole and having not only customer wins, but also having SEMA win and really helping the partners of the company grow. Can you has that been an intentional decision? And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So one of the key things I learned over my career in public companies is the multiplicative effect of ecosystems. And at a startup, you're impossibly challenged to do everything on your own. And you, I would say, barely can get enough bandwidth and energy to focus on your core competency. So multiplicative partners and partner ecosystems, I would almost say, are table stakes, essential for a company to grow. I would argue for anybody in the physical AI industry, right? So we need analog partners, we need memory subsystem partners, we need manufacturing partners, we need compute partners. But more importantly, there's a go-to-market motion with ISVs, independent software vendors, or ODMs, and VARs, and resellers, and reps, and disties. And so my previous company, I think I learned a lot about how to build out this go-to-market motion where the ecosystem starts working for you and you become a platform. And the day they all monetize themselves and help, if you will, the revenue streams based on your platform, you have a wonderful butterfly effect where their wins make your wins and your wins make their wins. So we've been very careful about picking very specific partners because it's not about numbers. It's not about number of partners. It's about the quality of the partnerships we have and investing in their success and correspondingly them investing in our success. So I would say in one way, it's a no-brainer that we need this, but we wouldn't be around if we didn't have partners. So,
Absolutely. Well, and as a little bit of an aside question, there's been a lot of talk about the circular economics happening within this space. What are your thoughts on that?
oh boy, now you're putting me in the hot seat. Number one, I should say, I mean, like everybody else, I'm sure I have an opinion, but I am no expert in finance. I'm no expert in business models in this vector, at least, right? But I'll give you my opinion. As I'll give you the bullish case and I give you the bearish case. The bearish case, there's a lot written about it. In that, boy, we are now beginning to subsidize our own growth and our own future, and at some point, it's not about any one company's success. It becomes a success of the companies that you're subsidizing growth for. And if they don't have a weak business model, then it'll all become a backlash and come back and hurt the AI growth story, if you will. That's the bearish case. The bullish case, I'll tell you, is if you go back in history around every market that kind of became defining moments for that industry. I'll give you electricity. I'll give you the trains. And I'll give you nuclear industry. When these become so massive, so big, to build out an ecosystem, what we are seeing through is kind of exactly the same movie that happens over and over again. The ones that really are leading the charge end up having to subsidize for the ecosystem. We see it even in car industry today, where massive car companies subsidize credit for the cars to be bought at your dealership, right? So I'm giving you the bullish case, and so this is not new. Definitely, the volume and the dollar amounts are bigger, but that element of pass-through funding, or if you will, a circular funding for a negative connotation, it's not new. I mean, there's no new ground being broken on this. And I have to say, I mean, I think it's all up and above, and it's all for anybody to see. So there's no circular element around it. The bearish case is if you're subsidizing your customer and if their business model breaks, would the cycle shrink, right? And so this is where I would say I'm lucky my IQ isn't that smart to say what future is going to come around. But there's a thesis around the bearish case, there's a thesis around the bullish case that it's just inevitable that markets need to subsidize their ecosystem to figure out how to grow. And over time, the automotive industry has figured it out. The electricity industry has figured it out. I'm sure the AI industry will figure it out too. But I'm sure the drama will go up and down. But luckily press releases don't make or articles don't make reality. So
Well, absolutely. And you said it very well and eloquently over a span of multiple industries. I mean, the Industrial Revolution went through the same thing, is that you can't punish an industry for being so big. And it's a necessary element that you have to fund one another.
no, and I think, I mean, to just double click on the bullish case, I still think, and there's a lot written about it. I think we're in the very early innings of AI, very early. I mean, and I think there's more to come. And as it starts impacting human life, like biology, what premium would you put on that? And no, I think there's luckily many smart people in the world. I'm sure they have a more eloquent position on this than I do. But no, I think I see the bearish case and makes sense. I see the bullish case, and to me, it makes sense too. And as to which one's going to play out and how it's going to play out, and is it going to be shifting between the two? And that's where we live. We'll find out.
That's why we get up every morning. You've
It makes for interesting times.
you've built high performing teams at both large companies and startups alike, across Groq and now at SiMa. What are some early lessons that you learned in your career that has helped shape the hiring strategy at SiMa and made it a strong and durable company?
So, uh, good question, and I'm pausing to give you a succinct answer. I thought I had a really good thesis for how to select and how to hire in a public company. And I have to confess, I had to retrain myself for the dynamics of a startup. The basic elements are entirely the same. You want a cultural fit more than anything else, uh, followed by a functional fit, and then an ability for them to really contribute at the highest level. So those elements are the same, whether it's a public company or a private company. But I do think the dynamics of who you hire in a private company took some retraining on my part to really get my hands around it. And I made mistakes, and as I look back, I've learned from them, hopefully, and I'm not repeating them. And I'm sure I'll repeat a few, but not too many, I hope. But what I've really learned is attitude and culture far out trumps functional capability. You could teach somebody a new trade, and take the entire software industry seems to be turning over its head on vibe coding being the future, you know? So who is a good software architect is entirely now up for grabs. And you could teach, you could learn, but what you cannot teach is culture and attitude. And at a startup, that's hugely multiplicative or punitive if you optimize poorly. And so that in a public company is a different dynamic. So every hire matters at a startup, and particularly for the scale we are in. We're about 200 of us now. So we are very judicious about a cultural and a attitude fit to what I think the needs are, because you need resiliency. You need really an ability to iterate quick. You need an ability to really move fast, and almost an illogical belief system that while you have no idea what to do, you'll figure it out. And so you need that across the system. And luckily, I'm very comfortable that I know what I know, and we need superstars across the board to figure out different domains, whether it's in silicon, or software, or AI, or boards, or go to market, or sales, right? So you cannot be good at everything. So I would say optimizing for culture and attitude has been the biggest learning that I've gone through. And it's sharper and almost, as I said, if done right, hugely multiplicative. Poorly, hugely disruptive. And the rest, okay, you can get by, you could learn, you could pick it up, but you cannot teach people culture and attitude.
If there was one cultural element that you could optimize for at SEMA, what would that be?
No jerks. And it's hard at a startup. It attracts the DNA of somebody that's illogically bought into a future in a highly risk universe. So I've joked that if you want to be dull, boring, not rock the boat, a startup is far cry from it. But if you want to be in the circus and you want to really do whatever it takes to look to, you get all kinds of interesting personalities, right? So there's no optimal, amazing person that's the most disciplined, most detail oriented, most team oriented, but also the most phenomenal performer, the 10x engineer you want. The and function of all of it is a null set. It's a desire on my part, but it's a null set. So you take mostly there and then you spend your time shaping it into what you want it to be, right? And so, and we I would say we are not perfect. We make mistakes like everybody else. But getting it mostly there most of the time is really the large optimization we have to do.
So, as you know, the war for that talent right now is very, very challenging.
Sure.
Um, So, and the people that SEMA would want to hire are likely not going to be looking for a job because they need one. But if
Exactly.
somebody were to see this and were curious about SEMA, then maybe it's the first time they've heard, what would you say to persuade them to at least be open minded to a conversation?
Yeah. No, wow, great questions, Justin. And I would say number one, and I'll give you two-part answer. One is I have seen studied companies, and that there's a set of companies that are mercenary hiring. There's a set of companies that are loyalist hiring. We are in the loyalist hiring category. And what I mean by that is we do not pay everybody the highest dollar amount. We don't come back and go, hey, I pay more than anybody else, so let me pick up the premium talent. That is not us. What we believe in is a culture which really says you're going to be working with one of the best teams in the world. You're going to be working with peers that make you better. You'll be working with people that want to be made better by you. But your scope of impact will be the largest that you've ever seen in your career. So, yes, we pay good, we pay market competitive, but we are not you don't join us for the money. But if you really look at learning, contributing, and scope of impact, that we are comfortable saying that this may be the best you've ever seen in your career. And that's why our attrition rate's relatively really, really low. Because as one of our employees said, it's like Hotel California. You could check in anytime, but you never want to check out, you know? So we really, yeah, we invest in our people and in my mind, honestly, though money is a good motivation for all of us, if you really think through it, it's eventually not the reason you're happy. You want to be compensated well. You want to be recognized for what you're doing. What people really care for, in my mind, what I've learned in 35 years of working is scope of impact and a sense of camaraderie of we did it together is really what guides all engineers. And I am one too. Yes, money matters. And as long as you held and played value, it becomes far secondary.
Well, you couldn't have said it better. Mission mindedness is what you're looking for.
I think you are more eloquent in that phrase than I am. So,
um, well, as we wrap up here, if you could visualize a world 5 to 10 years from now, what kind of impact do you hope that CMOS technology will create?
we are conservative about everything, but the one thing we are neither conservative nor shy is that we want to be the top five AI semiconductor companies for physical AI. So we are very focused on being a market maker, not for economic reasons, for impact reasons. We believe we have the best in class technology compared to incumbent public companies or startups. Our approach is differentiated. Our value add to customers is really tangible. And I would say our software, from its accessibility and ease of use, is the best in class of any company in physical AI. And so we're very proud of that. That combined with the silicon delivers the best performance per watt of anybody, whether it's on LLMs or on CNNs or transformers. Across the board, I think we have built a very unique product that's built for physical AI. So, as a proxy of success, we want to be the top five company in the next 5 to 10 years in leading the charge on physical.
Well, my hope is that you're there, and my bet is that you will be there, because one of the reasons why I have followed you so closely is that I hope that when my 5-year-old is a teenager who has cerebral palsy as well as a number of other impediments, that the robotics and medical industries will enable him to be able to walk.
I would say I'll keep that in mind all the time. And so, no, it's, I mean, you mentioned this briefly last time we met, and I could see how much it is part of your psyche and it bears on you, you know? And every parent wants their kid a way better lifestyle and a way better quality of life than they could ever afford. And I am entirely convinced AI, and whether it's exoskeletons, whether it's really better cognition systems, better grasping, better capabilities, we have an entirely amazing future ahead of us. And so that's a wonderful story, Justin. And I'm sure it shapes you in terms of what your priorities are. And then to a large degree, it's also shaping our priorities too. And we truly believe, yes, we are here to make money, no doubts. We are a commercial entity. We are all about enabling customers. But it's not just the money alone for us. It's a little more than that. And so if we can make a difference in people's lives, that's a good story to tell your grandchildren one day. So
Well, your heart is in the right place. That's a reason that you're here. That's a reason that we're talking. And I had high expectations coming into this conversation, and I would say it easily exceeded them. So I normally end these with a thank you and a goodbye, but I would like to end this with a debt of gratitude. Thank you for taking the time, and I hope we're able to do it sooner next time than we are able to this time.
I promise you we will. But
All right.
wonderful conversation, Justin. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.